Right now, you hold a device giving you instant access to millions of potential partners. The barrier to finding a match has never been lower. Yet, despite this hyperconnectivity, health authorities globally are tracking a severe loneliness epidemic, while sociologists document a massive wave of dating app fatigue. This diagram illustrates how the current ecosystem breaks down across demographics. On one side, women are often inundated with an overwhelming volume of matches, a flood of inbound data points that lack depth, context, or safety. On the other side, many men face algorithmic obscurity. They stare at a screen that offers zero positive reinforcement, leading to widespread demoralization and withdrawal from the dating pool entirely. We have to ask how a system explicitly designed to mathematically optimize human connection became an engine for mass demographic isolation. Look at this group. 30 years ago, courtship resembled a village square. You met people through a local pub, your workplace, or your friends. Your options were geographically constrained to maybe a few dozen peers. Psychologists call this the propinquity effect. It is the human tendency to form relationships with those we encounter often in physical space. Sharing a captive environment, like this crowded university lecture hall, builds a necessary baseline of trust before romance even enters the picture. Because your options were limited, your psychological posture was one of investment. You found someone who was a good match, and you put in the interpersonal effort to compromise and build a life together. This organic environment allowed for a slow burn. Attraction to an acquaintance could develop over months of observation as you learned their personality and quirks. The friction of navigating a limited physical community made finding someone good enough the foundation needed to sustain a long-term couple. Today, that village square has been replaced by a global megamall. The dating pool expanded from those few dozen local peers to millions of global profiles overnight. Look at how this visualizes a concept sociologists call liquid modernity. Human bonds become fragile and transactional when subjected to digital scale. Potential partners are evaluated using the exact same cognitive processes we use to shop for consumer goods, filtered by height, age, and location. When you expand that checklist infinitely, you trigger the paradox of choice. An overabundance of options directly causes decision paralysis. It heightens expectations to mathematically impossible standards and drastically lowers your satisfaction with anyone you actually meet. Users are constantly haunted by opportunity cost. It becomes impossible to tolerate the normal human flaws of the person sitting right in front of you when a theoretically perfect partner is always just one swipe away. This environment shifts human psychology away from a posture of relationship investment and traps it in a state of endless consumer optimization. You never stop shopping. To understand why the platforms allow this, we have to look at the underlying code. The psychological hook of these apps relies on a behavioral psychology term called variable ratio reinforcement. It operates like a slot machine. The unpredictable reward of a potential match hijacks the brain's dopamine pathways. It keeps users compulsively engaging with the interface, prioritizing the thrill of the digital payout over the actual pursuit of a partner. Major matchmaking platforms rely on a business model built for user retention. If an algorithm successfully pairs people off, they delete the app, an outcome that is economically counterproductive. The code is working exactly as intended when users remain solitary. Endless searching is the platform's primary financial driver. This forces us to ask what kinds of organic, slow-burn romances we are losing simply because they do not translate well to optimized two-dimensional images. It is easy to dismiss this as nostalgia. Critics argue the past forced people to settle or trapped them in incompatible relationships due to geographic limits. But consider that the messy, inefficient struggle of meeting someone in the wild might actually be the psychological crucible required to build the resilience necessary for a lifelong marriage. By perfectly streamlining the process and stripping away the awkward friction of the real world, we may have accidentally engineered the effort out of finding a partner, and in doing so, engineered out the meaning. To find a genuine human connection in the algorithmic age, the most radical action you can take is to simply stop shopping.